Donald.
I'm Courtney.
Mallory.
Today we are going to be recapping, rehashing, hashing for the first time. We're going to be talking about Buffy Season 2.
Coming at you.
Or should I say, as Spike would do, even though I think he meant it as not a very nice thing. But we mean it as Season 2. Anyway, Season 2. So, where do we start? We started with the characters last time, right?
Yeah.
So we mostly had the same characters from Season 1. All of them were still really around, I guess. But we added a couple new ones, too.
We added one of the best characters. Actually, I'm going to be real. Season 2 has 3 of my favorite Buffy characters of all time in it. That we meet in season 2, I meant.
Yeah.
I don't know what I said. Season 2 has
people.
3 of my favorite characters.
For you.
Ever.
Yeah. The principal, probably.
Definitely. All the principals are fabulous.
They are the level worst.
Sunnydale High School has never had a principal that I liked. So.
Or probably that anybody else liked, for that matter. The principal in Season 2 is Armin Shimmerman, who Seinfeld fans know as the caddy. He was Kramer's caddy.
Oh. First of all, pretty quick off, we meet 2 of these new characters, Spike and Drusilla. How do we feel about Spike, you wonder?
Yeah.
So, it's funny because obviously, like all of these, knowing everything that's going to happen in the future, it's kind of interesting watching, everything that happens in the earlier seasons. But Spike and Drusilla show up, and I feel like coming off of Season 1, where you had the Master, but then you sort of had the Anointed One left.
Yeah.
And it was like, whatever. I mean, Season 1 was pretty good for a pilot season, I guess, a short season. But then Spike and Drusilla came in, plowed down the Sunnydale, welcome to Sunnydale sign. And immediately they both seemed like such cool people. I mean, Drusilla was...
Yeah.
I mean, she's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Not a little.
A lot. A bit. Yeah.
But they just kind of come in and immediately, at least for me, even... Because, Season 2 was where I first started watching Buffy way back in the day. But I was still pretty young, so I don't know if I could appreciate everything like I do now.
Yeah.
But I love a good villain, and I feel like when they first showed up, they seemed like they were going to be really great villains.
Yeah.
And, really fun, because they were also funny, especially
Yeah.
Spike's funny, which is what makes him additionally a great character to me.
Yeah.
He's got whole lots of layers, but...
Yeah. Unlike some people we know, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, they stroll in, start causing chaos. We find out that Spike has killed 2 Slayers before.
Right.
So everybody's kind of concerned.
Yes.
And, yeah. So they have a pretty good run, which I guess we could get more into the plot in a minute of what happens in the...
Yeah.
But we meet them, and then we also meet Oz.
Yes.
Oz is the freaking best.
Yeah.
I forgot how great Oz was until I started watching
Yeah.
Season 2.
Yeah. I mean, I watched all of Season 2, of course, and then, I don't know, I think I've watched maybe 8 episodes, maybe not that many, of Season 3. But I'm just wondering, I hope nothing happens to where Oz is ruined for me. Mm-hmm. Because so far, Oz is literally the best person on this show. I mean, for real. First of all, there's no nonsense about any kind of toxic masculinity with Oz, which I love. Mm-hmm. I love Oz so much because, like, I guess because he falls for Willow for the first time when she's in that crazy Eskimo suit.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And he's like, that girl is amazing. When everyone else, every other girl, because they have one of the episodes in this season, I guess, they have some kind of a dance that's supposed to be all multicultural, you know, bringing all the cultures together. But of course, every other girl finds a way to make their culture's outfit as skimpy as possible. And Willow goes authentic, you know.
Yeah.
Willow's our girl. And so, and Oz is like, that girl is the best girl.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like a win for the nerdy type girls.
Oh, yeah.
But then all the time, he just thinks Willow is so cool and that she's, you know, everything about her is just great. And he's not threatened by her being smarter than him or,
mm-hmm.
you know, he fits right into the crew.
Yeah. He's just, he has the best one-liners.
Yeah.
They'll come in and say, I don't know, it's just everything he says, and the way he says it, it's just so,
mm-hmm.
that it's so funny.
Oz is really awesome, which makes part of season 2, and I think on into season 3, pretty frustrating in some pieces.
Yeah, Oz also is a werewolf.
Yes.
Which he got bit by his cousin, apparently. Who was
a baby.
Yeah, his little cousin.
Which was pretty funny, but yeah.
So they end up having to... He doesn't even know he's a werewolf at first.
Yeah.
So they end up trying to help him, you know,
yeah,
learn how to deal with it and locking him up on the full moon and everything. But
yeah.
he's the first werewolf.
Yeah.
He's one of the really only werewolves we know, I think, ever know, like, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few others, like, we actually know their names, but
yeah.
he sort of runs the werewolf portion of the supernatural world, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Just a few other, like, random supporting characters who are kind of recurring is Devin, who... So, Devin is in Oz's band.
Yeah.
Or really, as their band Dingoes Ate My Baby.
Yeah.
I think Devin's the lead singer.
Yeah.
But he has a thing with Cordelia, I think, for
a
time. But Devin's also in My Buffy game. You know how they have, like, the little cards that have random people that can help you? Devin's one of them, somehow.
How weird.
It is weird, because he's really not that... I mean, he doesn't have that many lines or anything, but...
No, like that... I think there's really, like, one episode where he talks. That's the episode where we find out he's dating Cordelia. And that they're, you know, that he's in a band. And I think that might be the episode with the costumes. The multicultural event.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, we pretty much just see him singing in the shows. And,
He's just one of those characters that pops up every once in a while in the band.
How strange.
But yeah, he's in my game, so I don't know. And then Larry, who's one of their classmates, and I think, was it the Go Fish? No, maybe it was before where Xander thought that Larry was
I think it's
up to something, but really he was like, I know you have a secret.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was that episode or the episode where the guy, Angelo Spazzeri, was
trying to
brought his
something.
brother back to life.
Could be.
Yeah, but I think it might have been that one just because, you know, girls kept turning up dead in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because they weren't turning up dead. They were digging up their graves.
Up dead bodies.
Because that was episode 2 of the show, because they were trying to build a girl for the guy's dead brother.
Yeah.
Who was a zombie now, basically. Or really, he was a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. So that was sort of the first I think that Larry really he was kind of a bully.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was really gay.
Yeah.
And he was trying to like hide it, and he was afraid. And then he thought that Xander thought they were bonding about something else, but really he thought Xander was saying Xander was also gay.
Yeah.
And then finally Xander realized what was happening, and he was like, "What?" But then Larry was like, "It's okay, man. I won't tell anybody either." And so now Xander and Larry are strangely bonded, even though.
Yeah. But then later on in the show, Larry actually helps them.
So they kind of, I guess that's the start of Larry, and he kind of pops up. But after that, he stops being such a bully and really starts,
being
I guess
cool.
after he finally had somebody to talk to and stuff, So that was cool, and he's kind of mentioned, throughout. And then Jonathan. So Jonathan, I just met he doesn't come up a whole lot. He becomes a character that you see in random events that has speaking parts.
Yeah.
But not to give too much away, but Jonathan becomes more important later.
Yeah. After
season 2. But this is where we meet him. And at first, he's just kind of a random student that talks. And then there's really 2. So Ethan, who I'll just mention because he's in more than one episode of the show. But Ethan Rain shows up in one of my favorite episodes of the season, the Halloween episode.
Yeah. That was probably one of mine too.
That was great because Ethan came, he was an old friend of Giles. And he came into town and opened this costume shop. But on Halloween, he cast a spell, and everybody that had bought a costume from his shop turned into their costume.
Yeah.
So Buffy was like this damsel in distress because she was trying to dress like a girl from Angel's Time.
Yeah.
Which was... Then he was like, I didn't like those girls anyway, so...
Yeah. So it was all for nothing, and then, of course, Xander had dressed up like a army dude, which was very helpful because they ended up needing somebody to save them from every kind of nonsense going on.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good episode too because Willow and Oz had to go, or was it Oz and Cordelia? Anyway, they ended up having to go try to break into the army fort or whatever to steal a bazooka.
Oh, I think, that was Xander, I think, and Cordelia.
Yeah. Because I think Oz picked them up in their van.
That
was a later episode.
I think that was different because Xander had,
memories.
From...
That's right.
The costume.
But they were like, later on they were like, we don't always do this. But, that's right. Oz and Willow, I think, were on the outside to pick them up.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, so,
But that was cool. It was funny, too, because usually, vampires and demons, really take the night off. Halloween, they just kind of chill. It's like their night to chill or something. And after all the chaos started, Spike decided he was going to go after Buffy. And so he had this, army of, little kids. Little kids who had turned into demons and things because of their costumes. Following him around. And then, of course, when the spell was broken at the end, all the little kids turned back into kids, and he was like, what?
Yeah.
But that episode was really great. But anyway, that's when we meet Ethan.
Yes.
And then Willie, who is sort of important later in the season, which I guess we can talk about when we get to that big plot point of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of showed up. And then there's one more character. Sort of a new character. Sort of not.
Well, yeah. And, there's another character that we meet too this season. But, yeah. So, alright, so where should we go from here? Where do we go? Wait, so who are your 3 favorite characters? Oz and Spike.
Yeah, Oz and Spike and Drusilla were 3. Really, there's 4 altogether because the other person who's not really a new character but kind of is also a really great character. Much better than the original. Well, I'm just kidding, but not really. So, other episodes, I guess. Well, School Hard, which is the first episode that Spike and Drusilla show up, is also one of my favorites. Or when he really, he comes in. I think that's when they first showed up, and he came in to the parent-teacher night and was
trying to kill Buffy.
He tried to kill Buffy a bunch of times. But like their first meeting was cool. Or he comes out, she kills that vampire and he comes out of the shadows like clapping.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, they're trying to do some kind of other new thing to bring destruction to the world again, like always.
Yeah.
With the annoying one, which is what Spike calls the anointed one.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the first episode a little bit where Buffy was dealing with her inner demons, even though it wasn't like a happy episode because Buffy was being a jerk to everybody, but it was just kind of cool because also I've kind of started to realize, I think in this season, that I think that some of the demons are metaphors for like teen issues.
Yeah.
So
it's I think one of their big overall themes for the whole show is a lot of like dealing with these actual demons and vampires is really sort of dealing with adolescence and growing up, and especially in later seasons things get really depressing. But
so we had so here's a note. I'm just going through my notes on that teacher night episode. I don't think this is probably important, only because of what we know about the show. But Buffy and Spike. So Buffy's painting a sign for teacher's night because she and this other girl are being punished by the principal, and they get put in charge of teacher's night. Because that makes sense. Put the two biggest hooligans in the school in charge of teacher's night.
Right.
And so Buffy gets red paint on her face. And then at the same time, we're seeing what Spike and them are up to. And Spike, I think, gets blood on his face or something. But
that's where Drusilla...
Oh yeah, Drusilla drags her nail and cuts his face. But basically, Buffy and Spike end up with the same red mark on their face at roughly the same time, at least as far as we're watching it, because who really knows?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's a sign, even though it probably wasn't actually, because, spoiler alert, Spike leaves at the end of this season, and he wasn't supposed to come back, but because everybody liked him, they brought him back.
Yeah.
But, so that can't really be what happened. It can't really be foreshadowing, can it?
There's so many things, I think, and this is one reason, and I love Spike, and I always have, but I still think he's, and usually when you see lists of like the best Buffy characters, he's always, almost every list I've ever seen, he's been number 2, only behind Willow.
Mm-hmm.
Who, at this point, I mean, as the seasons progress, Willow, I think those two characters really go through the most, like, crazy changes, but he's always towards the top, because even if you don't, I mean, it's hard not to like or appreciate the character, whether you like Spike or not. And I think depending on the time and the episode is how you're supposed to kind of feel about him. I mean, obviously when he shows up, he's a villain.
Right.
But like, he's such a likable villain from the beginning to me. I guess because of the humor part. It always gets me, draws me in when people are funny.
Yeah.
But he shows, I don't know, I feel like him and Buffy have a lot in common, even though they're on opposite sides.
Yeah.
But a lot more can be said for that, but...
Yeah.
Do you have any other notes on the earlier part of the season? My other favorite episodes are towards the end.
Here are my notes. The person guarding the mummy girl was Billy Black from Twilight.
I wrote that down too. I wrote Jacob's dad.
And I was like,
No.
hey, what? Now I'm choking. I don't know why. So that was surprising. Also, of course, I mentioned earlier, Angelo Spazzeri, one of the celebrity loves of my life, was in the mummy, or the zombie episode. So here are my notes. I'll kind of go through. Xander has terrible taste in women. That's probably from the Inca Mummy Girl episode, because it took them way too long to figure out that she was the mummy that had escaped. Then I also wrote, not going to lie, Xander is kind of an ass. What does Willow see in him? Team Oz!
Yeah, there's other things I had, which really aren't. I don't think we're season 2 things.
Yeah.
And season 3 that we could talk about in the season 3 episode that I won't say forgotten.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about it in so long that it was like, what? Oh yeah.
So one thing I learned in this season is that Angel was Spike and Drew's sire. So I thought that Drew was Spike's sire.
Well, really, she is
Okay.
based on future flashbacks,
Okay.
not in season 2. Technically, Drew is the one that turned Spike into. I don't know. That's one of those things that I don't know if they wrote that and then later decided
That wasn't how I wanted it
that
to
wasn't
be.
how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But there is a flashback later on that shows her actually biting him.
Oh, okay. Because in one episode, they actually say that Angel is Spike's sire. And it shows them running around together and stuff. And anyway, so some of my other random notes that I had from the Inca Mummy Girl episode. When the mummy got exterminated, did the dudes go back to life? I'm assuming not. But also,
Oh yeah.
they don't really say. Also, how many dudes do you think it would have taken to have sustained that mummy for the rest of a natural life? So many.
A lot. Yeah.
She drained like so many dudes in less than a week.
Yeah.
That episode was crazy. And then also, you know, when they were doing that, so the whole deal with the mummy thing was that Buffy was supposed to have a foreign exchange student named Umpata coming to live with her. Well, Cordelia had a book of all the foreign exchange students. And yet, Buffy never looks in the book because she thought Umpata was a dude. Umpata was a dude. The mummy killed him. And I thought, why didn't she just look him up in the book? Because then that, would destroy the plot. But also, I said, that's what I put. Why didn't Buffy just look up Umpata in Cordy's book, not in the script? That's what I wrote.
That's fine.
I also put, okay, so then in the one episode when Buffy and Cordelia go to that frat party.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some issues with this episode. Well, first of all, Willow told Angel and Giles off on Buffy's behalf, which was cool. But also, I can't understand why Buffy would get drunk at the frat party. I mean, I really don't even understand why she went.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I know she was acting like she needed to blow off steam and all this stuff, and she just wanted to have freedom and whatever. But at the same time, even if that's the case, she is really too cautious and normally aware of her circumstances for that.
Mm-hmm.
To where I just can't, that just seems very out of character to me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that's when the snake was eating all the people.
Yeah.
Also, I put, how can a snake control profits?
They were the fraternity was sacrificing girls.
Yes. And I put, kudos to Willow being women's empowerment. I think that was from the Halloween episode. We're to the Halloween episode. I put Halloween is low key for Buffy, as we mentioned earlier, because then they take the night off, which I didn't know at the time. But I put that's when the veil is the thinnest. In every other world, that's when the veil between real world and spirit world. And I said Xander is a turd for being mad at Buffy for protecting him. This is a recurring theme.
Yeah. No, the guys. Some of the guys have an issue with. That happened in that Go Fish episode too.
Yeah.
Where Buffy like intervened. And everybody always, all the guys get mad if she like saves them.
Yeah.
I'm like, what, you can't be saved by a girl?
Yeah.
Forget you then.
Yeah. Also, in that episode, I think, Xander said, once more with tension. Foreshadowing. And then I put, is Ford an alien? This is a new episode.
Oh yeah, this was the Lie to Me.
I thought maybe he was an alien because of Roswell, I think.
Yeah. He was an alien on Roswell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had forgotten exactly what was up with him. Like, I remembered him being on there and wanting to be a vampire, but I had kind of forgotten, like, why, like, his motivation until I watched it.
Yeah. So, I think that's the episode maybe where we learned about Angel and Drusilla, or it was around that time, that Angel literally tortured Drusilla into insanity before he finally turned her into a vampire.
Yeah, which is why she is the way she is
insane.
now. Like,
Yeah.
She's such an interesting character because you really are like, what will she do? Because she really doesn't seem all there.
Yeah. And yet Spike loves her anyway, so I don't know what that says about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I said that Jenny taking Giles to monster trucks is hilarious.
Yes.
That made me laugh really hard. This is around about the time, too. Oh, also, so back to the Angel thing. Angel sucks for doing that to Drusilla. Keep that in mind for later.
Yep.
And then we have that episode about the whole tattoo thing that Giles had in that little secret terrible club he was in with Ethan Rain and them.
Yep. It's weird to think about that version of Giles because of how Giles has been the whole time.
Yeah.
But you do get some peeks. This is one of the first time you get a peek into how Giles used to be.
Yeah.
Ripper.
Yeah. And then Jenny gets possessed by a demon. And I'm totally shipping Giles and Jenny, and then that broke them up because I guess she can't hang.
Yeah.
She can't hang with getting possessed.
She don't want to be turned into.
Come on, girl. So then they send bounty hunters after Buffy. What is it called? I gotta go scroll back. The Order of Taraka bounty hunters. And Spike was trying to revive Drew and bring her all back together.
Yeah, so this kind of sets off part of the last part of the season. So you find out, that Spike's whole plan, the whole reason he came to Sunnydale, was he's trying to get Drusilla back to full health. And in order to do that, he has to have her sire, which is Angel. And so their whole thing is eventually, and we get to that episode where they finally get Angel, they kidnap him, kind of, and I don't know if they have to, I know they're, draining his energy, maybe, and giving it to her, or something. Because they have them tied up together, and they're doing some kind of ritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is also around the time when we meet another character in this season, who is Kendra.
Yep, she shows up in this episode.
The Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Because as you might recall, at the end of season 1, Buffy died.
Momentarily.
And when a Slayer dies, A new Slayer is called.
Immediately, if not sooner, evidently.
And you also kind of find out, which I'm not sure if they had sort of talked about this before, but that a lot of Slayers are like potential Slayers, I guess.
Yeah.
If you could be the Slayer, you're kind of raised in that life. So Kendra has been sort of raised by her Watcher since she was young, being trained, and so she knows she's like a good fighter, but she also knows a lot about the lore and stuff that Buffy doesn't really know a lot, because she wasn't really, I mean, she was like a normal valley girl kind of before she was called.
Yeah.
But it seems like now you kind of learn, oh, well, some of the Slayers are sort of, it's almost like, it makes me think of like District 1 and 2 from the Hunger Games, where you're like raised up preparing for this your whole life.
Yeah, see, that's what got me, because how do they know somebody's going to be a Slayer? How do they know that?
Yeah.
And I mean, nobody told Buffy. Like, all of a sudden, it was just one day a dude shows up and was like, hey girl, you're the Slayer.
Yeah.
Go slay. Slayer's gotta slay.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, later on in the show there's stuff about that, but I don't know how people, you know.
Yeah, like does the Watchers Council know somehow? How do they know?
Identify who could possibly be, and why didn't they identify Buffy before?
Yeah.
Because I think this is in season 2, right? Where we find, because we find out how Angel ended up in Sunnydale as well.
Yes.
And it seemed like, because, all right, so this is where it was Willie, I'm pretty sure, that went and found Angel. So here we go with this whole crazy saga. So as it turns out, you know, Angel has a soul. Well, I don't know if we knew that before.
Yeah.
Or not. But
we do now. So
Angel, after being a terror for all these years, hurt or killed somebody in this gypsy tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And they then cursed him with a soul. So this was like right around 1900-ish, I think. I don't know. They were showing dates at the bottom of some of the screens, but right now. And so he spent what, like 90-something years, maybe, I don't know, however long it's been, like living in the gutters, eating rats, just being miserable and feeling terrible about all the stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
And then Willie comes and finds him.
I said 200-something years doing nothing productive. WTF, what a freaking slacker.
So he's been wallowing around, you know, and the whole point of the curse was so that he could live out eternity feeling like trash, you know.
Yeah.
So Willie finds him and brings him.
Is his name Willie or Whistler?
Well, there's two different people.
Oh. Because I have that Whistler did all this stuff.
Okay, well, maybe it was him.
Okay.
But he went and found Angel doing all this for some reason.
Yeah.
And took him to Los Angeles to see Buffy. So I don't know if in the last video we were talking about how it seemed weird that Angel fell in love with Buffy so quick.
Right.
Well, this was the episode where you kind of get a little bit of an explanation, because he really knew Buffy way before she knew him.
Yeah.
Because he was taken to see her, and
yeah, I have notes about that too.
she didn't seem to have been the Slayer yet, or she was about to be,
notes.
or something. So somehow Whistler also knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because he was basically like, hey, you want to quit feeling sorry for yourself and help this new girl out?
Yeah. I said, the fact that he changed himself to help Buffy is a little sweet and a little creepy. She was 15, and I almost felt like this was like Chester child molester for a minute. Because it was really weird. Also, here's something I'm wanting to know. Because I don't know this yet, or at least I don't think I do. How old was Angel when he got turned into a vampire?
Yeah.
Same for Spike.
I'm not sure we ever actually find out.
Because, see, to me, it's not weird when, like, with Edward and Bella, because they're the same age, basically. Except for, I mean, I know Edward's been alive a lot longer.
Yeah.
But he's frozen at a particular age.
Yeah.
But to me, Angel already seems like he's like 25.
Yeah.
Dating this 16-year-old, which is already a little bit bizarre.
Yeah. Of course, I feel like it seems like all those actors, I don't know what the age difference is in like David Boreanaz and Sarah Michelle Gellar. I know James Marsters is a lot older than them.
Yeah.
Or when I say a lot, I mean at least 10 years, if not more.
Right.
Older
But he didn't
them.
look it really, though.
But they all seem to be, like if I were to guess, like with like Angel and Spike and Drusilla and them, I mean they all honestly seem like they were like at least 30.
Yeah.
Like, the way they look.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how old they were supposed to be, because I don't know if they ever actually say like how old any of them were when they died.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
But it is a little creepy because I guess it seems weirder now. The older that I get, the creepier it seems when like 15, 16-year-olds are dating people in their 20s.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, these are still kids.
Yeah.
Like all the 15-year-olds I know nowadays, I'm like, no. You don't need to be dating anybody that old.
No. You should barely be dating other 15-year-olds.
Like you date an 18-year-old, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
A little bit. But,
yeah.
I mean, admittedly, girls are more mature. And for the most part.
Yeah.
But
still.
Mature faster, I should say. But
yeah.
Still. So it does seem weirder to me now than it used to.
Yeah.
That he just saw her and kind of fell for her. And then he really did kind of stalk her a little bit before they actually met.
Yeah. And then, and because to me, I mean, it's cool that he changed his whole life around and stuff. I mean, kudos to you, but for this girl that, first of all, she doesn't even know you exist.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like, to me, this is like creeping through the fence post, staring at people.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I mean, yay, but also cringe.
Yeah.
And then I also wondered, like, I don't know. I got some issues with the Team Angel people, if I'm being honest. Because, like, I'm sure they're over there like, oh. And I'm over here thinking.
Yeah. Which I can't say a whole lot based on other stuff that happens in the future. But as far as Buffy and Angel are concerned, it is a little creepy that he was sort of admiring her from a distance for so long, being seemingly a bit older than her.
Yeah. Very odd.
But, you know.
Yeah. Do we want to, so a lot of that happened at the end of the season. I took a bazillion notes this season. So do we want to quick run through just a couple of the other notes that I took before we get to the end? So one episode that I thought was good and bad because it really annoyed me, even though it was a pretty well thought out episode, was the episode about Ted, which is John Ritter's episode.
Yeah.
So, first of all, Ted was a super freaking creep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he didn't build the interface better. He should have toned that down. I said he should have toned down the creep factor in the schematics.
Yes.
But it really annoyed me how, you know, he's like cooking all this food, whatever, and everybody just is in love with it and chilled out to like the nth degree. I don't know if he was like, I don't know what he was putting in it. But at the same time, it really bugged me how Joyce didn't believe Buffy when Buffy said basically Ted's a total creep.
Yeah.
And that he threatened her, all this stuff, and Joyce would never believe Buffy. And like, I know, it always irritates me because this is a recurring theme with Joyce. And it really irritates me a lot because I know that Buffy gets in trouble at school. But first of all, most of that is not her fault. Secondly, Joyce never wants to hear Buffy's side of it. It doesn't seem to me like.
Yeah.
So then, because she already thinks that Buffy's a bad kid, then she doesn't ever believe her, even though in her own experience with Buffy, she doesn't, I don't think, have that much reason to doubt Buffy. Mm-hmm. But she does anyway. It's very frustrating. And so, anyway, I'm glad that they got rid of Ted.
And I don't know if part of it was that he was like drugging and mind controlling them.
Yeah.
But she does, I guess, and I don't know. Even though we are older now, I still think when you have parents who really seem to be, like they never want to believe their kids or they always, or just think the worst of them.
Yeah.
It still annoys me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, but you don't really know,
right.
Maybe she, for the because for a while anyway, she didn't know anything about the Slayer world,
right.
But, I don't know. Give them a second chance.
Yeah. So then also there was an episode where they all had to take care of these little eggs. Actually, they were regular sized eggs, but
really bad eggs.
But the eggs, eggs got Daleks in them because they had these little things that would like crawl out, and really the inside of a Dalek is this wormy octopus looking thing. And they said something about them being Bezoars, but I thought that a Bezor was in a goat's stomach and was used to treat poisoning. Is that just in Harry Potter? Did I make that whole thing up? That is real from something. And I also said, boy, everybody got possessed quick. They got possessed so quick. And then they were down there mining. How come everybody, what sorts of creatures? It seems like every time massive amounts of people get possessed, they end up mining.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, they were mining. If you watch the Power Rangers movie, everybody goes down, which I know they were trying to dig something up, like avenues or whatever, but people, inevitably end up mining.
Yeah, they do.
What? I don't understand it. And then, so...
there's always stuff buried that we gotta find.
Evidently. So then,
that happened on Are You Afraid of the Dark one time. Well, I don't know if they were mining, but they was like, all these people got possessed and were going down to a basement and doing something weird with eggs. With like these big, giant egg things. Anyway.
Weird. So then one little thing I made a note of is that Oz at one point said, bunnies may not look it, but they can take care of themselves.
They're not as cute.
Like everybody supposes. So then, of course, now we're getting to the point where our other little character comes into play. And that is Angelus.
Yes.
And jealous much.
So one thing that happens after Spike is trying to do the ritual. Well, it turns out the ritual does work, but Buffy and company show up to save Angel, and do. So the Spike actually is the one that sets the fire for some reason. He sets the building on fire, and then they're fighting. Well, he ends up trying to get Drusilla and run out, and they get like the ceiling and a bunch of stuff just collapses on top of them. Well, at the end, we see Drusilla comes out and she's full strength, but Spike is unconscious, so she totes him out. Well, for the entire rest of the season, Spike's in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently he's been like, which vampires heal faster, obviously, than humans. But he was injured enough, I guess, to where he had to be in this wheelchair. So he's in the, that's just, one thing. But so he ends up in the wheelchair. So what kind of sets off the next arc, which is one of the best arcs of the entire show, in my opinion, is Drusilla wants to put together the judge.
Yeah.
Who is this, I don't know.
Oh, well, wait. So first and foremost, since the battle was done and they kind of won, Buffy and Angel ended up sleeping together. Right? This happens before they put together the judge, right?
No, because they go in to fight the judge.
Okay. Never mind.
Well, yeah, because... So they're trying to put together the judge, but his body parts are buried everywhere.
Yes.
And so Spike is trying to get them all in for Drusilla.
Yeah.
Well, so Buffy and them find out. Well, they have like an arm, I think.
Yeah.
So they're so Angel decides he's going to leave town and take the arm.
Right.
But they get stopped. And by Spike's crew, and they get the arm away from them, whatever.
Yeah,
go build the judge. So the judge is like this, I don't know if he's supposed to be a demon or he's not really a machine. I mean, I guess he's like a demon, but he like thrives off humanity. So he kills anything with humanity.
Yes.
So they end up doing that, and Buffy and Angel go try to stop them, but they already put the judge together. So they end up having to flee back to Angel's place.
Yes. And then they sleep together. And then Angel's soul gets poofed. Because one moment of true happiness would make his soul disappear. I'm going to be honest. That was kind of a janky curse to put on somebody anyway. But also, from my perspective, how come his moment of true happiness wasn't like a couple episodes ago when Buffy told him she was in love with him?
Why it gotta be then?
Yeah. Why you gotta like actually sleep with somebody to get true happiness?
Yeah, I'm like you. I thought it was kind of a strange, and maybe that was sort of the loophole of the curse.
Yeah.
Is that it was basically like he has to suffer, and if he's ever not suffering, if there's ever a moment where he's no longer suffering, even for just that moment,
Yeah.
it's gone. But yeah, it's interesting and really it's more interesting that is the only time that ever happens.
Yeah.
To him. That's the only time, that you're ever... I mean, I get that he was just distracted and so he wasn't thinking about anything else for once, but still.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, really, when you built a curse to make someone suffer eternally, then if they attain true happiness, why would you want the curse to break?
Yeah.
That's like kind of counterintuitive. But then, shortly thereafter, I'm pretty sure, because it's in my notes, we find out that who knew the whole time this was going to happen? Jenny Calendar.
Yep.
Because really, it's her ancestors that put the curse on him. And really, they're kind of like the Angelus guardians for all intents and purposes. And that's really why she's even in Sunnydale. She was there to make sure that Angel doesn't break the curse.
Yep.
It didn't work.
So, of course, everyone gets peeved when they find out that she knew that and didn't tell them. Because Angel didn't know that either. Right. I don't think Angel didn't know that's how the curse will break. I mean, I don't think he would have known it, because if he had, he probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Because Angel always tries to be, good guy, do the right thing. Helper of the helpless.
Yeah.
That's what he calls himself later on. But
yeah.
So, but Angelus is one of my favorite characters too. Not because he's so much more interesting than Angel in a way. Or I guess he's just because he does have that sarcasm and I won't say he's funny. He's not like Spike because he's very evil. Like he is straight up like a psychopath, Angelus is.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, and even this is why the judge thing's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because after he lost his soul again, he showed back up at the factory.
Yeah.
And Spike was like, told the judge, he was like, kill him. And he tried and said, I can't, there's no humanity there.
Yeah.
Whereas the judge had previously told Spike that he could sense the humanity in him.
Yeah.
Even though it was just a little bit, that he
Yeah.
could sense it. But with Angelus, there was none.
See what we talking about here?
So, like, without a soul, like, he's just one of those, like, he's actually, all he wants to do is torture and kill people.
Right.
He doesn't care about anything else. And I think in a way that makes him a fascinating villain because
Yeah.
you really don't know, like, what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And he does end up doing crazy things.
Yes, he does. So, before we get all the way into that, there was one episode where Amy did witchcraft again.
For Xander.
And it ended up where, I think this is the same episode, where, I don't know if it's that episode or the next one, but anyway, Buffy ends up getting turned into a rat.
Yeah, that was the
And I thought, first of all,
love spell episode.
I thought, why on earth is Amy even trying to do magic after everything that went wrong with her mama? But then also I wrote, Xander is such a baby and really a jerk and a creep. I am like really turning on Xander, by the way. But then I also wrote this quote because it really made me laugh. I think Giles said it. But he said, two people were arguing, and he said, you two sit, be quiet, we have to catch the Buffy rat. Because Buffy had got turned into a rat and was running around, and they couldn't catch her. And anyway, yes.
Yeah, that's what Xander was trying to, I think he was trying, I'm not sure, I think he was trying to make Cordelia love him.
Yeah.
Because she had kind of, because him and her started having a fling.
Yeah, they started hooking up.
Secretly, at first.
Yeah.
And they, I felt so bad for Willow in one of those whenever she found out. Because, you know, when she said, it means you'd rather be with someone you hate than be with me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Cordelia ends up turning on him because when she kind of dates him, her friends find out, and then they kind of disown her because they're the worst. And then she's also the worst for a little bit because then she kind of is like, no, I can't date you anymore because you're a loser.
Right.
But then he comes out and is going to cast a love spell on her.
Right.
And then so he can dump her. So he's kind of being a jerk too.
Yeah.
But then it backfires and everyone except Cordelia falls in love with him.
Yeah.
Falls in love.
Yeah.
Gets obsessed and then they start trying to kill him and each other.
Yes.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. The whole thing was just nuts.
And I especially like the part where Drusilla shows up. You know, Drusilla shows up and she's trying to get with Xander.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, what? And then Angela shows up and he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she's like, you can't have him. He's mine.
Yeah. So, then I put, Oz is the best man on this show. I don't know why, but it's the truth.
Probably is. Oz was the very best.
Yeah. So then we really get into, well, we go through the next episode after that one, I think, is when Angel gets a hold of Jenny.
Yeah, so this is one of the best episodes to me too, and it's called Passion. And it's very, it has some cool voiceovers that Angel Angelus does, talking about passion and talking about like without, maybe if we didn't have that we'd be, you know, we wouldn't have to hurt and suffer, but then we might just be truly dead without passion too.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool speech. I actually wrote it down. I was gonna look it up, and I didn't, so that I could read the whole thing, like his thing at the end. But I thought that episode, even though it's kind of sad, because like I said, everybody's been mad at Jenny, but Giles, Buffy's especially doesn't want it, because I mean, obviously Buffy's like, this has been really hard for her.
Yeah.
Because she just lost her virginity to this man that she loved, and then he literally turned evil. Like, actually turned evil. And then starts saying all these really cruel things to her.
Yeah.
And so she's been obviously having a hard time with that. But then, so she's extra mad at Jenny for not, you know. But Giles still kind of likes Jenny.
Yeah.
And misses her. So in this episode, Buffy finally is like, he misses you. Y'all need to give it a shot. And then they make a plan to maybe they're going to get coffee or something.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, because she feels bad, because they said, why can't we recurse Angel?
Yeah.
And she said the curse has been lost. Like, you know,
it's
nobody knows what it is or can translate the words anymore or whatever. But she has been working in secret on a computer program that will, I guess, translate
the text.
The text to that spell this whole time, but didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Which she should have.
Yeah, she should have. But she did save it on a floppy disk. Because I put, it's crazy now that the fate of the world hangs on a floppy disk.
Yes, literally the fate of the world now.
So she basically ends up, she does translate it. She saved it to her desktop and she saves it to this floppy disk. And she prints it out of one of those printers with the rings on the side where you have to fold them.
It makes a noise almost like a copy machine.
But it
like
runs out in one spool kind of a deal, and then you have to tear the perforations that have the little holes on the side.
That kind of paper.
That's how it's printing out when Angel shows up. Angelus shows up.
Because he has discovered what she's trying to do.
Yes.
So he smashes her computer, and for some reason it catches on fire.
Yeah. Although later on Willow takes over the position and the computer is back to normal.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Well, she got a new one, but
anyway.
And then he takes the printed paper and burns it in the fire.
Yes.
And is like, oh, I've destroyed everything.
But the floppy disk fell between the desk and the filing cabinet to never be found again until much later.
Yeah. However, then he's out to get Jenny.
Yes.
And after a little chase through the hallways of the school. Okay, so this is only somewhat relevant, but I thought about it last night. We were watching Boy Meets World last night. The episode where they all get locked in the school and people are getting murdered. And there were chains on the doors.
Yeah.
And in that episode, when she's trying to get out, all the doors are locked from the inside. And some of them are chained.
Yeah.
And it's something I thought, did people really used to chain school doors at night?
Yeah.
Or why are the doors locked from the inside?
Yeah.
Because no one can ever get outside, it seems like.
Yeah.
I just thought that was strange. It always gets me when people can't get out.
Right.
Like when you can't get in, okay. But when you can't get out either.
Why all these schools have to chain their doors shut?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're on the hill now, but.
Yeah.
I thought that
what
was
are demons going to do with school equipment?
You know.
I don't know.
How did Angelus get in?
Good point.
He did make a point where she said, how did you get in here? And he said, I was invited because the sign on the outside of the building said something in Latin that translated into all who seek knowledge are welcome or something.
Yeah.
But I always was under the impression, though, that vampires could enter public residence, like any public place, without an invitation. You just can't enter a private residence.
Yeah.
So really, why couldn't he have just come in anyways?
Yeah, I don't know.
And maybe he could have, and he was just making a point. I don't know.
Maybe he does. Oh, yeah, maybe the sign's all you need. I don't know. But then also, too, because I think it's in this season, then they start trying to angel-proof their houses after this to, like, ward so that he can't come back in.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, spoiler alert, in later seasons, it seems like you can just be like, you're not invited, and they just go out the door.
Yeah, they were performing some kind of ritual, to de-invite him after.
Like, they had to hang crosses up in their room because Willow had to do it too.
Yeah, and they did all this stuff to keep him, because he had been invited into Buffy's house, into Willow's house.
Yeah.
And he broke in this same episode, I think. He broke into Willow's house and killed all of her fish and strung them on a line and put them in an envelope and left them on her bed.
Yeah.
But he does weird things like that. Like, he sneaks in at night. He sketched Buffy at night one time. He sketched Joyce.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually surprised it took him as long as they did to, like, figure out how to de-invite him. Because...
Yeah.
And really, he could... See, the thing is, he could have killed any of them any time, but he likes to torture and taunt people.
Yeah. Which makes him worse.
Yeah. Because, like, he could have killed them, but he's like, no, I want them to suffer first.
And that's what happens to poor Jenny. He tortures her for a long period of time, and then he finally kills her, which was very sad, and I really honestly thought for a second that Giles was going to take Angel out himself.
Yeah. Because really the saddest part of the whole episode, and really that shows you, and I think this was the turning point for a lot of them of really, especially Buffy, of turning on Angelus.
Yeah.
Was he took Jenny's body to Giles's house and put her in Giles's bed and put rose petals up the stairs and lit candles and left a note downstairs and all this stuff so that when Giles got home he thought he was going to have a romantic evening until he got upstairs and found her.
Yeah.
And I think doing stuff like that, like, that's what makes you, I mean, you are straight up a psycho.
Yeah.
If you're setting up stuff like that just to torture people.
Yeah.
Just to, like, mess with their heads. So, but that's another thing that makes Angelus, like, such a great villain to me.
Yeah.
Even though he's crazy.
Right.
But it's because of that. It's because he's so...
Yeah.
Like, no, he doesn't have that humanity. Now, for a long period of time, it probably would have gotten...
Yeah.
But for that little arc, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, that happened.
Yeah. So then we had a couple of random Monster of the Week episodes again where in one of them, Joyce got mad because Buffy was sleeping with Angel. Even though I did say if she knew even half the crap that went on, that would not even be a concern.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because she was so scared for Buffy's well-being, it seemed like when... Anyway. So then they had this one where Buffy got, like, the flu. Which... So she was sick, and she ended up having to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then they figured out that kids in the hospital were dying mysteriously. And the kids were the only ones that could see that. So Buffy at one point saw this thing, which kind of looked like, it was real creepy, but when it was sucking the life out of them, it was like a Dementor Demogorgon crossover. And so, anyway, then so Buffy decides that what she's going to do, they figure out that the one doctor that they thought was the one that was doing it, who then died, was actually trying to come up with a vaccine. Although he's going to give it to the kids that were already sick, and the vaccines don't work like that, by the way. I'm pretty sure. So, whatever. I guess they didn't consult a doctor. Because also Willow said, So Buffy decides to take the vaccine because it's basically weakened virus.
Mm-hmm.
But see, you can't give a weakened virus vaccine to somebody that already has the virus. If they could fight it off, they'd be doing that now.
Yeah.
But Buffy's improved, but now she can't see the thing, so she can't fight it. So she's going to intentionally make herself sick again to fight the thing. And Willow says, how's Buffy going to fight with a 107-degree fever? And I thought, yeah, no, she couldn't, because she'd be dead. That's when you die.
Yeah.
If you're anyway, whatever. So so they end up fighting this thing, and they end up killing it. Buffy does. Sort of. And, I mean, it never come up again so far, but at the same time, they don't incinerate enough people on this show. Like, honest and truly, the first people, they did beat have they beat the judge by now? It didn't take them that long to beat him. That's when they stole the bazooka from the military base.
Yep.
Because no weapon forged could beat him. But at the time, they were dealing with, like, swords and mess.
Yeah, like, you ain't been to this century yet.
Yeah. But, like, also, I don't know why the people facing off against the judge the first go didn't incinerate him. They literally chopped him into, like, 6 pieces and just scattered those 6 pieces. I mean, they didn't even chop him into little bits.
No.
Come on with it. What are y'all doing? No wonder it was so easy to put him back together. But anyway, and then also in that episode, I'm pretty sure this is the same way. This was the same episode. Cordelia said something about Buffy, and Giles said, way to have tact, Cordelia, or something like that. And she was like, tact is just not saying true stuff. I'll pass.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, snap.
She does have somewhat of a point.
Yeah. Then we did the whole ghost teacher love affair, ghost student, ghost teacher love affair thing. And it had Bob Barnard in it.
Yes.
From Insatiable. Also, that's not his real name, but anyway.
I actually also wrote down Bob Barnard on here.
Oh, there you go.
Because I didn't know his real name and I didn't look it up. That's what I do.
Yeah. So, then...
It also had this guy that was on Lost and in that movie Identity. He was the janitor in that episode. His name is John Hawkes. He's been in lots of things, but...
So then I wrote a note. Angel is a total ass to Spike, and Drew just lets him be one.
Oh, yeah. So, Angelus all the time is flirting with Drusilla.
Yes.
And on purpose. In front of Spike.
Just to really torture Spike, I think, not because he's necessarily interested in Drew, really.
No. I think he's really just, he's always trying to push Spike's buttons, because Spike's, of course, still in his wheelchair.
Yeah.
Except, at the end of one of the episodes, I can't remember, I don't know if it was in the finale, or I think it was before the 2-part finale.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, we see him, everybody leaves the room, and he stands up.
Yeah.
So he's not really, he doesn't have to be in it anymore, but he still is, so then you're kind of thinking, why isn't he telling anybody, like, what's his game plan now?
Yeah.
Which you find out in the finale, but...
The one thing about that ghost episode with the teacher and the student thing is that the ghost actually took over Angelus at one point.
Yeah.
And I said, a ghost can take over a vampire? This is a crazy-ass ghost.
Yeah. It was interesting because, like, it was the student and then his teacher, they'd been in love and she tried to break up with him and he killed her and then killed himself. And he was kind of trapped in this loop. And so they would every year or every so many years, they would come out and possess students and people at the school.
Yeah.
And then one of them would end up shooting the other. And it's like he was always trapped until he actually took over Buffy. Mm-hmm. And the teacher took over Angel instead of the other way around. so that Buffy was the one doing the shooting. And obviously, if you shoot a vampire, they don't die.
Right.
So even though they played out the scenario, Angel didn't die. So he came back, and they were able to. He was like, "You didn't actually kill me," or the teacher was like, So they kind of were able to finally break that ghost loop, which was that episode was good. It was very interesting. I like stuff like that where I don't know. Sometimes I find ghost stories entertaining.
Yeah. And then in the next episode, I think, was the swim team episode.
Go fish.
Yeah.
It's called Go Fish. I said that earlier, I think. But
yeah, you did.
it had Shane West in it.
And Wentworth Miller from Prison Break and Legends of Tomorrow.
I remember Shane West was in it.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten Wentworth Miller, or maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Last time I watched it, I didn't know who he was.
So that episode was crazy and showed how backwoods still some of the people in Sunnydale were, because they were telling Buffy maybe she shouldn't dress so provocatively.
Yeah,
and they were letting the swim team get away with everything. A swim team? We don't have a swim team, so I don't know how important swim teams are in California, but also, you don't let anybody get away with anything like that.
No, like one of the boys was trying something with Buffy, and then, they were blaming her because of her outfit.
Yeah.
Like, not in this era, son. Which
No.
I know this was the 90s, but still.
Yeah.
No.
So, then...
He got eaten, so it was fine.
Yeah.
The stupid coach got eaten.
By his own stupid.
He was sexist coach.
So, there. So then, I also wrote down that Darla had sired Angel, and we may have talked about this in the last one of these that we did, but I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
I may have forgotten that. But also, he seemed like he sucked before he got turned into a vampire, for the record. Angel did, because he said the only challenge he couldn't face was an honest day's work. And he was about to take advantage of Darla when she turned him into a vampire.
Yeah.
So for the record, Angel sucks.
Yeah, I think at some point, and I don't know when it is, they talk about how vampires, you really, you're taken over by a demon, but you also kind of become a more exaggerated version of who you were when you were alive.
Yeah.
So you still have similar personality traits in a way, I think, to who you were, but you just also now have a demon and not really a conscience and stuff.
Yeah.
And in some cases, no humanity. And it's interesting, and I don't know if they ever really delve much into it, of why some vampires retain humanity and others don't.
I think some of them just suck to begin with, and then others ain't that bad when they get turned. I don't know. So, then I think we go into... So I made another note about Joyce here, trying to kick Buffy out, because I think this is the part where she figures out Buffy's a vampire slayer.
Yeah, so this is a kind of an important moment. And me, I love Spike, so you might as well just get used to that. So, it's always interesting to me. I feel like, looking back now, Spike has been there for a lot of important moments in Buffy's life, strangely.
Yeah.
So what happens here is, Buffy, in the finale, everything, all heck breaks loose. Mm-hmm. So Angelus has discovered a statue thing called a Kathla. Mm-hmm. And basically, he has a sword stuck in it, and it looks like a giant gargoyle kind of.
Yeah.
When you pull the sword out, he opens up this portal and basically sucks the world into hell. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to do that for some reason.
Because he's terrible.
Yeah. And in the meanwhile, but he can't figure out how to get the sword out. So he decides he needs Giles. So they create a diversion to get Buffy away from everybody else, and end up going in there. So Kendra has come back, So Kendra's there. Willow, Xander, Cordelia, Giles are all hanging out in the library when Drusilla and more of the minions show up to kidnap Giles.
Mm-hmm.
So Drusilla kills Kendra after really not much of a fight, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, which is important later.
Yeah, I made a note of that and said, I know she kind of hypnotized her, but she also already had her pinned, which seems unlikely. It ain't gonna work on me. I'm more powerful than Kendra. No, but for real, I thought, what?
Yeah,
it was a little weird.
It was, and then they end up, like, Willow gets injured. I think she gets a bookcase pushed on her or something and gets knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Like her head hits her head. And then Xander gets his arm broken. And basically, then they kidnap Giles.
Yeah.
So, Buffy then realizes that Angel was trying to distract her. And runs back. Finds Kendra dead. Xander and Willow are passed out over here. Giles is missing, which I don't think she realizes at first, because the police show up.
Yeah.
And try to arrest her, because then, of course, they're like, you killed this girl. And she's like, no, I did not. And the principal, of course, the principal's there, Schneider, and he's like, she did it.
Yeah, she probably did. Somebody eat him, man.
So she leaves anyway, so she's kind of on the run from the law.
The judge probably couldn't have taken out Principal Schneider either.
Right? And while she's out, she encounters a police officer, but before he can do anything, who shows up to help?
Team Spike.
Spike! And she's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And he's like, I'm here to help you.
Because he likes the world as it is, and he doesn't want it to end.
He likes all these humans walking around like Happy Meals with legs.
Yeah. So there you go.
So he's like...
Admittedly self-serving, but also trying to save the world.
Yeah. So basically he's like, I don't want to end the world. If you let me and Drusilla go, you'll never see us again, and I'll help you take out Angelus.
Yeah.
So this is where she is not sure, but she takes him back to her house where her mom shows up, and so does a vampire. So this is the moment that Joyce finds out that she's a vampire slayer.
Yeah.
And I just always thought it's so funny, because I mean there's more moments, but that something crazy happened and Spike happened to be there.
Yeah.
For. Although one of my favorite parts in that was when they go inside and Buffy and Spike and Joyce are sitting in the living room awkwardly.
Yeah.
Waiting on Buffy, and she's like, don't I know you? And he's like, yeah, you hit me with an axe one time, because in the school, in the first episode, he showed up at the teacher thing. He was like almost about to kill Buffy or whatever, and Joyce came up behind him and hit him on the head with an axe.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how he says that. He's like, you hit me with an axe one time, and Joyce is like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But then, at some point, I don't know if this is before or after the fight. It's before. Joyce tells Buffy that if she leaves, that she better not come back.
Yeah.
If she leaves right now. And another fine Joyce parenting moment. I'm against Joyce too. But because I thought, really, doesn't this explain more than it doesn't? Like, I know she's trying to act like I've been kept in the dark. How can this be? But at the same time, I'm like, but doesn't this actually connect all the dots?
Yeah.
As to why Buffy does what she does? So that was frustrating. And then also, at some point in these episodes too, because it's really a two-part deal. Xander's trying to act like now he's figured out he's in love with Willow.
Yeah, whenever she's in the hospital, he kind of comes in and he tells her that he loves her.
Get the F out of here with that, bruh.
But you see, the way he says it makes it seem like it's more than as a friend.
Right.
That's the first time where he really shows anything for her.
Yeah.
And that's the part I had sort of forgotten or hadn't thought
Yeah.
about that in a long time.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, but it's weird to think about Xander and Willow.
Yeah. So then that's when we also get the little backstory we mentioned earlier about Angel. And then the legendary fight.
Yes. So this was one of the greatest moments, fight moments of the show. They have lots of good ones, but this one was really great because, well, first of all, it was very emotional for Buffy especially.
Mm-hmm.
But she goes in, well, Willow, before they got attacked by Drusilla and the gang, they were actually trying, they had found the floppy disk.
Mm-hmm.
And Willow decided that she was going to try to do the spell. So this is also one of the first times that Willow starts doing magic.
Yeah.
Which is important. But they get interrupted and aren't able to do the spell. So now they think it's hopeless. But Willow's decided she's going to try again.
Mm-hmm.
And tell Xander to go tell Buffy that she's going to try again.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
Because he's a jerk.
So instead he finds her because he's also going to help her rescue Giles.
Yeah.
Who they still have. Which Spike, part of their deal, Spike and Buffy's deal, was that Spike will make sure that Giles didn't die.
Yeah.
So instead of letting Angel torture him and kill him, he found another way to get the information.
Mm-hmm.
So he was living up to his part of the bargain of not letting them kill Giles.
Yeah. They basically implanted this vision of him with Jenny into his mind. And like on the one hand, okay, but on the other hand, I thought, Giles, are you really going to give over to this fantasy when you know it's not true? Yep, full stop. He just all in.
Tells them everything.
Yeah.
And
basically he told them how they could open a coffle.
yeah, what he needed to do in order to get the sword out.
Yeah.
So now Angelus knows how to do it, but before he can do it, Buffy shows up.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you really think you can take us all out on your own? And she's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
And Spike hops up from his wheelchair and whacks Angel over the back of the head.
Yeah.
And Drusilla's like,
What?
but so anyway, Spike ends up getting Drusilla. He ends up having to knock her out because
Yeah.
she's mad that he's betrayed them.
Yeah.
It takes her, and that's one of his funny moments too, as he says when they're leaving, you know, he sees it's gotten down, like Xander goes and gets Giles out, and they've killed all the other vampires, and it's just Buffy and Angel. And he's like, oh, I think he's going to kill her.
Oh, well.
Just walks out.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Just, I don't know why.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny.
It was funny.
But it gets down to their final, so Angelus, oh, by the way, has pulled the sword out.
Yeah.
In all this madness going on. So now he's got that sword, Buffy has a sword, and they're sword fighting.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool fight. But my favorite part was when he's got her backed up, and I think this when Spike was leaving. He's got her backed into the corner, and he's like taunting her with the sword. And he's like, now what have you got? You've got no friends, no nothing. What do you have left, you know? And he like stabs the sword at her, and she catches it in her hands right in front of her face, and she's like, me.
Yep.
And then whacks him back with it.
Yeah.
That was great.
So then by this point, Buffy knows too that she has to kill Angel to close the portal to hell that he opened when summoning a coffle or whatever. So she ends up backing him up against the thing, basically, and Willow restores his soul right before she kills him. So that he's like, and he has that moment where, also Xander never did tell her, by the way, because, you know, I guess you could sort of say that maybe he's thinking, well, how good of a guy is this person really?
Yeah. And I always kind of, in a way, thought, Xander's not wrong.
Right.
Everybody that's saying you aren't looking at this clearly. They're not wrong.
Right.
Like, he has done all these terrible things since he lost his soul.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's so willing, seemed like she was so willing to forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a little frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Even, as thinking, but they're kind of right. Like, if this was anybody else, you would have killed him way by now.
Yeah.
After they've killed Miss Calendar, he's killed Miss Calendar, he
Yeah.
did all these terrible things.
Yeah.
But y'all are still wanting to forgive him and do all
Yeah.
that. So they weren't wrong. But
Right.
I can't say I never forgive anybody for doing crazy stuff, because
Yeah.
later you'll see I do. But I'm like, but he's not, at the same time, he wasn't entirely wrong.
Right.
So I get why he didn't tell her. It was kind of a little bit of a jerk move not to tell her they were trying.
Yeah. So then, of course, he gets the wash over to where he's like, Buffy? And you know he's back to being Angel. And then they have their little moment, but
It's too late.
she stabs him and he goes into the portal and the little thing seals back up and it's...
She has to say, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Stab. And it was, I mean, I obviously I knew it was going to happen and everything.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really as sad to me
Yeah.
watching it
The
now.
first time around, it was more sad to me than the second time because I know I have seen at least those 2 episodes before.
Yeah. And that, when the very first time I watched it, like I said, I was really young when I started watching the show, but I somewhat remember when that happened
Yeah.
and being sad about it then. Because, I mean, it is a sad moment. It is a heartbreaking moment for Buffy, the
Right.
character. But it's hard to be that sad about it now,
Right.
knowing everything I know, and
Yeah.
plus, you know, not being super
Team
Team Angel.
Yeah.
Or any part of it.
Yeah. So that was season 2.
I've got, okay, so I didn't mention some of my quotes I wrote down.
Yeah.
I don't remember what episode. So I don't know why I thought this was funny, so funny, but in one of the episodes, I think it was Willow, had said something, and she said, she's a B-I-T-C-H, or something like that, and Xander was like, a Bitka? And I
Yeah.
was like, what?
I remember that. Yeah, I guess I was like, Xander, come on, man.
And then I always like the quote, love makes you do the wacky.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know if it was Willow who said that. I can't remember who said that.
I think it was her.
And then that where Spike was like, eyeballs to entrails. My dear when Drusilla was like, do you love every part of me? The parts you can't see.
Yeah.
And there's one more quote. Is there anything else we want to talk about? This is a great way to end.
Nope. I'm good.
I think that was it. We mentioned pretty much everybody. Oh,
Yeah.
well, I did also have on here that the Berta, that lady was on, that was
Oh.
on 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
She was
She was in the
nurse
fish episode,
in
the Go
fish
Fish episode. Oh, and fun fact, I forgot to mention this. So in season 1, you know the minion that the master had, not Darla, but the other guy.
Yeah.
What was his name? Luke. Luke, the guy that played Luke, was also the judge.
Oh, that makes sense. I can see that now.
Yeah, because I thought his voice sounds very familiar, which is what I also thought about Luke, because Luke is a vamp all the time, so you can never tell what he looks like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked him up, and it said he was in more than those. And so then when the judge came along, I was like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Probably because I just saw him in the first season. But yeah, so anyway, same guy.
Yeah. And then, so we kind of talked about, obviously, the biggest moments in the season, but also I think this was the first time, because I wrote it down, that they called themselves the Scooby Gang.
Oh, did they? I don't remember that. But I've seen little bits of things where they have Scooby stuff.
Yeah, Scooby.
Yeah.
So overall, season 2, I think it's really good overall. And of course, I love the introduction of the new characters.
Yeah.
And I think Angelus is still probably one of the best villains the show's ever had.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
So we'll end on this note. So this is a great quote from Becoming, the finale episode, that I always thought was really good. The bottom line is, even if you see them coming, you're not ready for the big moments. No one asks for their life to change, not really, but it does. So what are we, helpless? Puppets? No, the big moments are going to come. You can't help that. It's what you do afterward that counts. That's when you find out who you are.
Yeah. Who said that?
I think Whistler said that. It was like a voiceover thing.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Buffy season 2.
So, we'll see you back for more of this, other things, whatever.
We got all kinds of stuff coming your way.
Yep. Like and subscribe and tell your friends. Okay. Bye.
Bye.